So when I was 5 years old, I'm sitting at home watching television, and suddenly somebody comes on the TV screen playing the violin. I was mesmerized, and so I started begging my parents, please bring me a violin. I want to play the violin. So my parents came home with a teeny-weeny little violin, and I had never seen one or touched one before. So what did I do? I opened up the case, take out the little violin, go to the front door of my parents' house, open up the door, put the little fiddle under my chin, and yell to the people across the street, hey, look at me! And my parents go, oh my God, we've got a performer in the family. So to make a long story short, I practiced my rear end off and became an international concert violinist. But for me, it's a long story short. But for me, what was most exciting for me was not just the aspect of playing the violin or the aspect of playing beautiful music. It was about the emotion, what I wanted to express and what would be communicated to you, the audience, in expressing the music. So let me give you two examples of what I'm talking about. So here's a piece written by the Italian composer Tommaso Vitali. This is the opening of it. Now, that was well played. but it didn't say anything. So for me, this melody feels like a majestic, hello, how are you? The king walking into a room. So how does a king stand? How do you feel majestic in your body? And the magic is the breath before the first note. So when I play this piece, it becomes this. And it's different. Let me give you one more example. Not only to express your emotion, but to make the music your own, from your own heart, with what the composer is asking. So let me play for you the opening of a piece by a composer, Ernst Bloch. He was a Jewish composer, and he wrote this beautiful classical piece called the Nigun. Here's the opening, and I'll play exactly the way the composer wrote the music. It's exactly what he wrote. But for me, it doesn't relate to my own experience. I'm Jewish. My mother is a Hitler refugee. Her relatives went to the gas chambers under the Nazis. I grew up with the cry in the synagogue, that kind of a sound. So when I play this piece, I make it more my own personal, and it becomes this. Thank you. So at the beginning of my career, I had a life-changing experience, and it set my whole career path on an additional avenue. And that was that I was invited to be the first person in the country to take classical music into a prison. So I went into a prison, the Tombs in Manhattan, and again, to make a long story short, I performed for the prisoners and was completely shocked at the response. It was so intense. They were so excited. And then the warden came up to me and said, "Mr. Heifetz, this was a bigger response than last month when Johnny Cash came in and played for the prisoners." And it was like, oh my God, classical music can have that kind of an impact? It made me realize that if it's delivered on a basic level of human experience, of guts, of your emotion, with a willingness to connect and project, it's accessible and excitable for anyone. And that was a huge lesson which set me up on what I would do with my career, which has culminated in the Institute. So at the Institute, we tackle the issue of teaching young musicians how to perform with emotion, how to project it, how to become the music instead of just playing the music. So the first week for these brilliant young violinists, violists, and cellists, they take singing lessons, because everything we do in life is a song. I'm singing an aria to you. When you talk on the telephone, that is a musical phrase. It's a duet. You say hello, hello. You can tell when it's reaching a high point in the conversation. You can tell when it starts to cadence. You say goodbye, goodbye, you hang up. Ah, that was a musical phrase. And how often have you been on the phone where you're just not in sync? You kind of talk at the same time to each other. You say goodbye at the same time, you hang up, and that just didn't feel right because you weren't in tune to the rhythm, to the silences, to the feeling of the interplay of the song between the two of you. Very important. The next week, the young musicians take public speaking lessons, not to learn how to make a speech, but to realize that when you speak to someone, you connect in the eyes, that each individual person in the audience, you're playing to you as individuals, not just to a mass. And to be able to reveal who you are when you're speaking with someone, not speaking at someone. And to be able to walk out on stage and to tell an audience what you love about the music. What do I want you to enjoy from what I feel about the music? Why should you buy a ticket to hear me play? Very important, and it creates this bond between the artist and the audience. Then the third week, I bring in a pop blues artist, which freaks out these young classical musicians, in order to figure out how to believe in your own persona, how to think out of the box, how to explore your creative potential. Don't try to imitate me or a Yo-Yo Ma or an Itzhak Perlman or any of us. Each one of you is golden and perfect, but you have to take away the barriers and with the confidence to allow who you are to shine through. Then the fourth week, we bring in a movement expert. It's very important to become comfortable in your own skin. How do you make this piece of wood become a breathing part of your body? And do you understand physically how your body responds when you're feeling and projecting an emotion? Really important. If you're a stiff vessel, the magic, the emotion will not come out. And then the last 2 weeks, we bring in a theater director. Which is the most difficult? Can you identify an emotion? Can you bring it to the surface? Are you willing to reveal the emotion? And many times, husbands, wives, partners behind closed doors don't reveal their deepest emotions. But we have to in front of all of you strangers, completely open. And then can you find the energy to take that revealed emotion, project it through this piece of wood that is now part of your breathing body with what the composer is asking you to do, and to project it to the last person in the balcony. Yes, you all the way up there. Yeah, in the black coat. You have to feel the energy all the way up there. So that, when you can accomplish all that, that's when the magic happens. So now what I would like to do is to show you a video of one of our students who, in this video, you see how important it is for the student to understand how to sing the phrase and then how that relates to the way the student will play the phrase. So please show the video. Thank you. Thank you, Danny. Thank you. Would you sing it for us? Whichever part you want.
which I'm not expressing very well in my singing, but it sounds really nostalgic to me.
Would you sing it with that expression?
Dun, da, 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 da.
Thank you. Now will you please join me in welcoming Madison Vest on violin and Zachary Mowitz on cello. They will be playing a duet by Handel, which was arranged by Johann Halvorsen a century later. It's a Passacaglia, and when they play this duet, notice how the interplay, the conversation between the two of them.